Number 1. The Gladbeck Hostage Crisis. Her expression says it all. This was 18-year-old Silke Bischoff. She'd been taken hostage by two bank robbers, Dieter Degowski and Hans-Jürgen Rosner. The pair of gangsters were on the run from the cops and took a bus full of civilians hostage in Hackelriede, Germany. At the time this photo was taken, the duo had already executed a 15-year-old Italian hostage, and a police officer had died in a crash while pursuing them. Over time, most of the hostages on the bus were released. Only Silke and one other female hostage were left behind as bargaining chips. They were forced into a getaway car, and the robbers took them on a long journey into the Netherlands. The situation was handled extremely poorly by the police, and media outlets were even able to hold interviews with the two armed convicts, giving them not only exposure, but leverage as well. Authorities watched on as journalists brought the criminals cups of tea and coffee. Some reporters even helped to prolong the incident, guiding the abductors on their way, and handing them pictures of the police officers involved in the case, so that they wouldn't be tricked during a hostage exchange. During an interview, one reporter even asked Silke, "What's it like to have a gun held to your neck?" The ratings were through the roof. Near the end of the whole ordeal, a police cruiser rammed into the robbers' escape vehicle, rendering it immobile. Rather than come out with their hands up, the gangsters decided to make their last stand, all guns blazing, with Silke still in the car. Silke was killed in the ensuing gunfight. The same can't be said of both the hostage takers. They survived. With no more hostages left, they were forced to surrender. Rosner received a life sentence. Degowski got off light with 24 years. Since this all took place in 1988, he's a free man. Number 2. The Collapse. In 1976, photographer Stanley Foreman took this Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph. Entitled Fire on Marlborough Street, it captures the chilling moment that a fire escape collapsed in Boston, sending 19-year-old Diana Bryant and her 2-year-old goddaughter plummeting down 50 feet. Bryant didn't survive the fall. Her goddaughter, however, did, but only because she landed on top of Bryant's body. This remarkable image went on to be awarded the title of World Press Image of the Year. As a result of the collapse, fire escape regulations were strengthened throughout the entirety of the United States. Number 3. The Anniversary Crasher. Joe Martinez was at his in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary, enjoying a night of festivities along with his wife, Patty. Unbeknownst to most of the other guests, Joe was battling a severe drug problem, one that he says was killing his soul. Still, Patty stood by her husband in spite of his addiction, hoping that one day Joe would see the light and finally get clean. Little did they both realize that Joe would indeed see the light that evening, and it would come in the form of a camera flash. The couple posed together for this photo. At first glance, it's a fairly ordinary image. But something appeared alongside Joe, which wasn't there when they took the picture. A dog-like face leering over his shoulder. There were no dogs at the party, no animals of any kind, and the creature didn't appear in any other photographs taken that evening. Nobody at the event remembered seeing anything even remotely resembling it. By all accounts, it shouldn't be there. The couple themselves truly believe that it's a demon. Believing that it was following him, Joe took this photo as a sign to finally kick his drug habit. "There's good and evil in this life," said Mr. Martinez. "There's the good on the right side of me, and there's the evil on the left." Joe now carries the photo with him wherever he goes as a reminder to keep himself clean. Number 4. The most sinister wink of all time. That's what many people believe this is, at least. The photo was taken just after Lyndon B. Johnson had been sworn in as president on Air Force One. In the foreground, you can see a grieving Jackie Kennedy. Her husband, JFK, had just been assassinated. His blood and brains were still on her coat. There's obviously a somber atmosphere on board the jet, a sorrowful expression on every face. That is, with one exception. As Jackie mourned the death of her husband, LBJ turned to one of his longtime cronies, Texas Congressman Albert Thomas. He gives LBJ a secret wink and smile, not realizing that Cecil Stoughton, the White House photographer, was taking a picture of the scene. According to the man in charge of Air Force One at the time, President Johnson's behavior on the flight was, quote-unquote, obscene. This image is certainly something for conspiracy theorists to chew on. Then again, there could be a much more innocent explanation for the wink. That doesn't explain LBJ's so-called obscene behavior during the flight, though. Even if things aren't as menacing as they appear, it's still disturbing to see such high-profile figures so pleased with themselves in the presence of a grieving widow, and in the wake of their president's murder. The photographer himself said, "The wink could have been innocent or sinister, and I would lean towards the latter." Number 5. The Tinder Date. People have mixed opinions about Tinder, but I think the majority of us agree that it's not the best place to go looking for long-lasting romance. Still, millions of people use the app for hookups and dates all the time. Problem is, when you're interacting with someone through a screen for a while, it's easy to forget that the person you're talking to is still a complete stranger, and agreeing to meet that stranger is, unfortunately, not completely risk-free. It was August of 2014, and Warina Wright, a New Zealander in her mid-20s, was in Australia for a friend's wedding. The Gold Coast was providing her with both sun and sea, but something was missing. She opened Tinder to secure the final S. She matched with a guy that she thought was cute, Gable Tosti, a self-proclaimed Gold Coast playboy. The pair met up, and Warina agreed to go back to his apartment, alone. A decision that would cost her her life. This is the last image taken of Warina while she was still alive. Audio recordings found on Tosti's phone revealed that she was begging for him to let her go home. Tosti refused to let her leave, saying, "I would, but you've been a bad girl." Later in the recordings, guttural choking sounds could be heard, as if Warina was being strangled. At various other points, he threatens to knock her out and push her over the edge of his balcony on the 14th floor. Well, the exact events of that night remain unclear, but at some point during the early hours, Warina either fell or was thrown from the apartment's balcony. Her body was apparently folded over on itself. There were indeed red marks around her neck, indicative of strangulation. It was originally alleged that Warina was so scared of her date that she tried to climb down from the building to escape him. After she fell, Tosti called up his father and asked him, "Why does this keep happening to me?" CCTV footage showed him walking around outside the apartment, eating a slice of Domino's pizza, only 5 minutes after Warina's death. Tosti's legal team managed to convince the jury that he had locked Warina out on the balcony for his own safety. Her death was not Mr. Tosti's fault, since he had used reasonable force to subdue her after she became aggressive. The fact that she fell was her own fault. Ultimately, he was found not guilty of both murder and manslaughter. Not satisfied with the result, the coroner reopened the case in 2016. And that's where things stand today. Number 6. Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. In 2014, 2 young Dutch women disappeared on a hike in Panama. 10 weeks later, after an intensive search, some of their bone fragments were discovered, along with their phones and one of their cameras. On it were a series of photos chronicling the final days of Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon. Here are those images. Things start off as you'd expect, with the girls cheerfully posing for the camera at various points along the hiking route. Lisanne continues to take pictures of Chris as they move deeper into the jungle. Then, the pictures stop abruptly. 8 days later, about 90 photos were taken in the early hours of the morning. 87 of them were apparently of near-complete blackness. They still haven't been released to the public. Of the 3 that have been released, 1 was of this patch of earth. 1 was of this, potentially a marker that one of the girls had made. The final discernible image was a close-up of the back of Chris's head. Her temple appears to be bloody. Some think that they were using the camera's flash to signal for help. Others think that they were using it to light their way as they navigated through the wilderness, to make sure that they weren't walking in circles. In their weakened state, perhaps they were using the flash to scare off predators. At this point, they would have been starving, dehydrated, and completely disoriented. After checking their call history, investigators learned that the girls had tried to make over 80 distress calls. It also became apparent that the girls were desperately trying to conserve their battery power. Lisanne's phone died on the 5th day in. Chris's phone was switched off for the last time at 11:56 p.m. on the 10th day. It's likely that Chris died on day 8, hence the bloody photo, and Lisanne took her phone in hopes of finding a signal. That would explain why, after day 8, the wrong pin was repeatedly entered into Chris's phone, and the device remained locked. The main theory at this point is that in the darkness, the girls somehow became separated. Chris fell, hit her head, and died as a result. Lisanne may have taken the rest of the pictures to mark the way back to Chris's body, hoping that the authorities may be able to use them to find her remains. Does it sound like I'm speculating a lot? Well, that's because I am. Nobody knows the exact fate of those girls during and after those 10 days. There are, of course, many theories flying around, and even some evidence that may suggest foul play. It's possible that a local guide with a history of inappropriate and aggressive behavior may have led the girls deep into the jungle. Then, when they fought off his advances, he may have left them stranded in the wilderness. Whatever the case, it's hard to imagine being lost in the jungle for 10 days straight. No food, no water, and no phone signal. These last, dark images give us a sense of the desperation those girls must have felt. What a nightmarish scenario. Number 7. Ruth Snyder. This almost looks like a charcoal drawing. In actuality, it's a photo taken way back in 1928, capturing the execution of Ruth Snyder. Thousands of volts of electricity were being pumped through her at the moment this picture was taken, making it the first photo to capture an American execution in progress. If you're wondering why her face looks so distorted, it's because there's a sack over her head. In a way, the graininess of the picture gives it a truly haunting, otherworldly quality. When you realize that this is actually the picture of a woman during her last painful moments of existence, well, it's unsettling to say the least. Number 8. The My Lai Family Portrait. Another trip back to the past now, this time to the hamlet of My Lai, Vietnam. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the massacre that took place there in 1968. For those of you that skipped that history lesson, here are the cliff notes. During the Vietnam War, a company of US soldiers entered Song Mai village, rounded up as many as 504 unarmed civilians, men, women, children, and infants, and gunned them all down. As you can imagine, the incident prompted global outrage. One person present that day was Army photographer Ronald Haberly. In the midst of all the carnage that surrounded him, he snapped this picture. It shows a small group of terrified villagers, most probably a family, mere seconds before they were all killed. You'll notice that the teenager on the right is preoccupied with buttoning up her blouse while the rest of the victims huddle in fear. That's because some of the soldiers had just had their way with her. When the soldiers assaulting them noticed Haberly in his camera, they quickly stopped what they were doing. Haberly took his picture. Then, as he walked away, he heard the distinctive sound of an M60 going off. He turned to see what had just happened, and, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the group of villagers he had just taken a photo of collapsing to the ground. They were dead. Only one of the soldiers that took part in the massacre was convicted of any criminal offences. He was originally sentenced to life, but ended up only serving 3.5 years under house arrest. Haberly's photo is not only a reminder of the extreme cost of war, but also the dark depths that humans are able to sink to. Number 9. Down the Hill. This is the last picture taken of Abby Williams, captured by her friend Libby German in February of 2017. The pair of young teenagers were out on a hiking trail in Delphi, Indiana. Sadly, they were never to return home. They were brutally murdered shortly after this picture of Abby was captured, and, despite over 26,000 tips, the police have yet to identify their killer. Which brings me to the next entry in this list. Libby also took these 2 photos of an eerie figure following behind them on the trail. The police believe that this is the man who killed the girls. Question is, who is he? Libby not only managed to capture these images of her soon-to-be killer, but also took a short audio recording of his voice using her cell phone. In the audio, you can hear the man saying, "Down the hill." All of the evidence that Libby was able to secretly capture was quickly released to the public, sadly to no avail. Not only does the killer's name remain unknown, so does his motivation. One man was identified by the police as a person of interest, but it was later determined that he wasn't involved. If anyone can identify the man in the images, there's a $200,000 reward up for grabs. Number 10. A lovely day off. There's nothing better than a well-deserved day off work. That was as true back in the day as it is now, as can be seen in this set of black and white photos. These people are obviously enjoying their break, laughing and joking in their casual clothes. Things get a little darker when you see them in their uniforms. This photo album is entitled "Laughing at Auschwitz." These smiling, happy people were SS officers, Nazi guards, and female staff members stationed at the death camp. While off duty, they bask in the glory of the surrounding countryside, eating blueberries, singing songs, and sunbathing together. Less than a mile away, people were suffering and dying at the world's most famous concentration camp. Browsing through these photos, it becomes clear just how normal and everyday the people carrying out these atrocities were. There are no pictures of monstrous acts being committed, no soulless eyes or hateful faces to be observed. These people, who killed others in their thousands, were just like us. And that's perhaps the scariest thing of all. Hey guys, Lizzie here, and thank you very much for listening. I know there are quite a few of these types of videos out on YouTube, so I've tried my best to use photographs that I don't think have been used by many other content creators, but inevitably some will slip through the cracks, and I don't think I'd seen many of these before in fairness, so hopefully you hadn't either. I actually found a bunch of really horrifying images that I don't think I could get past the censors on YouTube, put it that way. Might have been breaking a few terms and conditions. But anyway, that's the way it goes sometimes, huh? Let me know if you did enjoy this video by smashing that like button, and be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and all that jazz. Until the next time, Lazy Legion, you all stay spooky. And remember, the best things happen in the dark. This online message board is mostly harmless and enjoyed by millions of people. But every so often, a post emerges on this site that is deeply disturbing. This is especially true of the site's random board, or, as it's known on the site, B, where users can post whatever they want, anonymously. A few of these posts have been covered by other YouTubers, such as Gloomy House and The Gamer from Mars. Both are awesome channels, and I'd like to personally thank Gloomy House, who helped me research this video. I definitely recommend you check him out after this. Now, without further ado, here are 9 disturbing 4chan posts. Number 1. This post dates back all the way to 2007, where an anonymous 4chan user who had intentionally hidden his IP address asked this simple question on the random board. What does B keep in the freezer? Guess what's in mine? Joke responses started to come back quickly, such as a cat, urine, and a body. However, the fun and games ended there, after the original poster congratulated the previous user's response, revealing that there was indeed a severed human leg inside his freezer, and more human body parts inside a black bin liner. A subsequent image was then posted of the user's forearm with a timestamp in front of the freezer, proving this was indeed an authentic post. Due to the lengths that the poster went to in order to remain anonymous, no more was ever uncovered about this incident. But it really makes you wonder what other secrets are being hidden by seemingly normal people that we come into contact with every day. Number 2. In 2013, this image of a young man in a makeshift cage beneath a bed was posted on 4chan's random board, along with a disturbing message. The message stated that the boy was from Japan and was a hiki, short for hikikomori, a Japanese term referring to young adults with no social lives or skills, somewhat similar to the term otaku. The user claims that the boy was desperate for money, and that since they had money themselves, they could, quote-unquote, offer him anything he wanted, but in return, he had to live with me and take female hormone injections, as well as take care of himself and dress in cute clothes. Seemingly with no other alternative, the boy apparently took up the offer. Disturbingly, the user concludes with their thoughts on how the boy seemed happy, how well they thought the hormone treatments were going, and how they thought that the boy was gaining weight in all the right places. What the user's intentions are, or were, with the boy remain unknown, but no more was ever heard from them after this post. Was this some sort of joke, or sick bragging from an anonymous user who enjoyed experimenting on others? That remains unclear, since nobody knows who the boy or the poster are, but many believe the post to be authentic, and the image and story has stuck with them. Number 3. In 2010, a young woman named Rachel Wisner created a post on 4chan asking users to buy her pizza. In return, she told them that she would post pictures of her breasts. She did indeed get the free pizza she desired, bought for her by other users. But rather than stay true to her word, she instead uploaded an image of herself with a message saying that she lied, and later took to Facebook to brag about how she had epically trolled 4chan. As you can imagine, the 4chan community did not take this well, and they set out for revenge. Certain users were able to get a hold of Rachel's Facebook account and discovered that she was planning on flying to Africa. On the day of her flight, 4chan users phoned up the airport, claiming that Rachel had a bomb to ensure that she would miss her flight. Users were also able to uncover more and more about Rachel's personal life, including her phone number, which high school she attended, and even her address. They also threatened to reveal private details about her to her friends and her family. In the end, the 4chan users got what they originally were promised by blackmailing Rachel into uploading topless pictures of herself. This whole incident has become known as Rachel Wisner versus 4chan, and goes to show you that you should never try to incur the wrath of the internet. Number 4. In late 2012, an anonymous user, supposedly high on Class A drugs, posted a photo of a syringe filled with a fluorescent blue liquid, asking others to offer suggestions on which part of his body he should inject it into. After being questioned, he provided a timestamp to show that he was indeed being serious. One user suggested he inject the substance into his wrist. The original poster accepted this request and uploaded pictures of the whole process. At one point, he uploads a picture of the needle in his wrist with the simple caption of "veins glowing." After this series of image uploads, the user fell silent and was never heard from on the thread again. Theories started popping up throughout the community about what the outcome of this experiment might have been. Many speculated about what the mysterious liquid was, with some stating that it was glow stick fluid and others suggesting dye that glows under UV lighting. Some claim that this post was a hoax, but others remain adamant that it was legitimate and that he likely suffered a cardiac arrest. All that is certain is that this post offers up more questions than it does answers. We might never know the truth about this incident, but it's extremely unsettling to think about. Number 5. This is one of the darkest pranks ever conceived, with only one goal in mind: to affect as many innocent people as possible. A user posted instructions on how to easily make some homemade beautiful crystals and asked others to post their results. The ingredients he said were needed were all household items that could easily be obtained, including copper pennies, ammonia, and bleach, as well as some other supplies. These ingredients were meant to all be mixed into a jar. The final instruction was to blow into the mixture through a straw, and that within 30 seconds the crystals would begin to form. The simplicity of this entire process and the promise of some beautiful decorations tempted some users into trying this out. However, unsuspecting victims had no idea that what they were actually doing was producing chlorine gas. When this gas is breathed in, it causes burning to the lungs and the windpipe, and is extremely dangerous. Scientifically savvy users of 4chan tried to warn others not to attempt to make the crystals, but by then it was already too late. Nobody knows exactly how many people were affected by this post, but a few days later, another anonymous user posted that they were hospitalized as a result of attempting to make the crystals, and that they came very close to losing their life. Number 6. There's been a couple of stories of people doing crazy things with grenades on online message boards such as the guy who dropped a live grenade down a toilet. But this post from 2012 is pretty messed up, simply because of the insane lengths that the guy goes to experiment with a grenade that he found out in the woods. He asked other 4chan users what he should do with the device, starting with pulling the pin. After having a look at it in the pictures, one user informed the original poster that the device was unlikely to be a drill grenade and was probably still dangerous. Regardless, the unknown figure remained hell-bent on getting the grenade to do something of interest. After the top of the grenade falls off, the original poster goes on to microwave it, burn it in a small fire, and even run it over in his car, all the while complaining that nothing was happening. After this final image, the user never responded to any more messages or requests, and was never heard from again. Number 7. Perhaps the most infamous of all of the posts so far. This incident took place on November 4th, 2014. An anonymous user posted an image of a naked, lifeless female with the caption, "Turns out it's way harder to strangle someone to death than it looks in the movies." The woman's skin had started to grey, and there were marks across her throat. Reverse image searches revealed that this picture had never been used on the internet before, and was thus not just taken from a website and re-uploaded. Though the image was extremely convincing, many users started to claim that the whole thing was staged and merely a well-put-together hoax. Adamant to prove that he wasn't lying, the original poster uploaded more pictures of the body, with the caption, "She fought so damn hard." He then went on to tell those who still didn't believe that the body was real, that her son would soon be back home from school and would discover her, and that they should keep an eye on the news. He also mentioned that he would pull a realistic BB gun when the cops found him, and that he would effectively commit suicide that way. Less than an hour after the post was created, police discovered the corpse of a woman in the city of Port Orchard, Washington, after responding to a call from a young boy who had discovered the body of his own mother. Turns out that the original poster had been truthful about his horrendous act, but failed to live up to the promise of committing suicide by cop. The man, named David Kalloch, turned himself into the police for the murder of his girlfriend, Amber Coplin. At the scene of the crime, the words, "She killed me first," were written on the bedroom wall. "Bad news" was written on the bedroom blinds, and simply the word "dead" was written on her driver's license. In court, he admitted, "I strangled her with my hands, then a shoelace I had. She pissed me off." Number 8. Perhaps not as disturbing as the other entries on this list, but definitely as intriguing, are the Cicada 3301 posts. This all began on January 5th, 2012, when an anonymous user posted this cryptic image on the B-board of 4chan on behalf of a group or organisation that went by the name 3301, stating that they were in search of highly intelligent individuals for some undisclosed project. The post itself was a puzzle, with a hidden message amongst the text. It would later be discovered that this secret message served as the first clue in what can be best described as the world's largest and most difficult treasure hunt. This post piqued the curiosity of many users until a computer analyst from Sweden was able to crack the first encrypted clue. This led him, and some others, to various other websites to tackle other extremely difficult puzzles, and eventually to real-world locations across the globe. This included destinations in Korea, Japan, Spain, Australia, Russia, France, Poland, Mexico, and various parts of the USA, proving that this was more than just an elaborate hoax. 1 month after the original 4chan post, Cicada 3301 returned to the site and posted another image stating that they had indeed found the intelligent individuals they wanted to find. Each year since, they have returned to the site to begin a new recruitment process. There are countless theories as to who this secret group actually are, and for what purpose they need to find such intelligent people. Some claim they are a government recruitment agency, and others claim they are a cyber mercenary group. Ultimately, these questions remain unanswered, since the people smart enough to solve the puzzles and complete Cicada's tests have never come forward publicly to disclose any further information. Why they have been sworn to secrecy remains a mystery. All that is certain is that Cicada 3301 are a well-connected and well-funded global body with connections in many different nations. Number 9. On the 21st of August 2015, this was posted by an anonymous user on 4chan's B-board. I have killed several women for pleasure. If you can guess a name of any of these women, I will upload their photo. No more than 10 names per post. Any more than that will be ignored. Some are Polaroids, and others were taken with a disposable camera. I also have pictures of them before death when I was able to do so. If you can guess all of the names, I will show you where I dumped a body in 1999. The first one is free, since her name is unlikely to be guessed. As is to be expected, many users believe this to be no more than a practical joke, but they played along anyway. Quickly, somebody guessed a correct name, and the original poster stayed true to his word and posted another photo with a timestamp. People continued to call the post fake when another photo was uploaded. This is before I played with her. Many people were starting to believe that this post was real, but some were claiming that these pictures could be police crime scene photos rather than those taken by a serial killer. However, the images lacked the evidence markers that are used in crime scene pictures. What's more, the photographic style was not in keeping with how crime scene photos were usually taken, featuring unsettling close-ups of a decomposing face and other disturbing details. In total, 4 pictures were posted. Some users decided to do a reverse image search of the first picture. This brought them to a police report of a 17-year-old murder victim named Shauna Maynard. Shauna had been shot multiple times and dumped on the road. Her killer had never been found. The images posted had all been genuine. They were sickening mementos taken by the murderer and shown off on an anonymous online platform. The FBI was informed by users, and a recorded conversation between one of the website's users and an FBI operator can be heard on Gloomy House's channel. Whether he was done with gloating about his crimes or scared away due to the community's uproar and FBI involvement, the original poster has not been heard from since. This all happened very recently, and the killer is still at large. A link in the description will take you to a recently archived post where other 4chan users came together to try and solve the mystery. Hi guys, Lazy here, and thank you very much for watching. Like I said at the beginning, some of these have already been covered by channels like Gloomy House, but he does some other great videos, guys, not only 4chan related, but some of that as well. But it's all great horror content, and you'll do yourself a favour by checking him out now. I just thought that since I had a bit of spare time, that I might as well try and spread the word on some of these posts, because the 4chan horror videos, they're kind of uncharted territory still, you know, not many videos are out there. So I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring, maybe bring you guys something you hadn't heard before. They're at least rather interesting, even though there isn't a shed load of evidence to back one or two of them up. Make sure to check out Anthony's artwork. He provided me with the thumbnail for this video and is an amazing artist. And you'll hear from me again very, very soon. Stay spooky. And remember, the best things happen in the dark.